I think his party was caught, transferring some 3 to 4 crores, and they were caught. And how could he say all these? And we also know that he is very close to certain mining mafia people. And this mining mafia, one of the guys, very popular guy known as Karikalan, is very close to his brother. And that guy has invested in his brother's business. And when all such things are happening, I'm really shocked to hear that he's trying to portray a totally different picture. Having said that, the fight is always between DMK and ADMK. Okay, so the minnows can sit out and watch, but BJP decides, no, we want to make a change. We want to give an alternative government to DMK and ADMK, and that's been their pitch. But what alternative? In terms of what? You're trying to polarize this state too? You want to talk only about Ram Mandir and Jai Shri Ram? Is that what you're trying to do here? And that's not going to work, because these are literate states. The southern states, why they are resisting so much is that they don't want to buy this religious argument. You give us development, you give us prosperity, you give us employment. That's what the country is looking at you right now. Because last 10 years, whatever promises you made, you have gone back on your word and you have not fulfilled all that. The only thing you have done is polarizing this country. And even in the South, we feel now that many people are interested in knowing what's your caste and what's your religion. Now, that's not going to help you. That's not going to help this country. Now, that's the problem now. So people are looking for a change, but the southern states, they're really not looking at a change right now. They're going to resist this. Probably they are the ones who are saving this democracy. If imagine everything goes one way and they get 400, just like the Kashi Vishwanath temple, we will have everybody wearing saffron clothes and walking around in this country. Do we really want that? And we know what happened to countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, who have towed that line and become in a complete Islamic state, and they lost their freedom and they lost their democracy. Everything is gone. We don't want that to happen in India. So the southern states are definitely going to resist that. Annamalai can say whatever he wants, and all his supporters can keep wooing him, but that's not going to change ground reality.
Secular fabric is what Mr. Mullidharan is pointing at as of now. Because we will come back to you, Mr. Mullidharan, because the points that you have raised are quite pertinent. You talk about literate states, which might be a veiled or oblique reference to the parts of which are not considered to be, which don't have that kind of literacy rate. And secondly, as far as this Hindutva factor is concerned, and whether India would be heading towards what happened to Pakistan.
Mr. Narayan के पास हम जाना चाहेंगे. Clear demarcation जो है वो रहता है, वो दिखता भी है बहुत बार कि नॉर्थ स्टेट्स और साउथ स्टेट्स में इश्यूज को लेकर भी. मिस्टर नारायण, हम आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि तमिलनाडु के पर्सपेक्टिव में खासकर कि किस तरह से जो मुरलीधरन साहब कह रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे वो इश्यूज नहीं चलेंगे जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी में उठाए, और उन्हीं इश्यूज के साथ वो तमिलनाडु में कोशिश कर रही है. लेकिन फिर तमिलनाडु में क्यों भारतीय जनता पार्टी अकेले गई है? आप इसको कैसे देखते हैं? फ्यूचर के लिए उसने ये कदम उठाया है या फिर उसका कुछ और प्लान है?
Look, I think the BJP originally planned to obviously have the alliance with the AIADMK. The AIADMK was seen as the party more likely between the two Dravidian majors to allow that and to make that happen. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they ran into some very serious problems because, again, it was Mr. Annamalai, who I think is, while he may be commended for making certain efforts, he brought out the so-called DMK files and he started a dialogue on corruption. He is yet to understand the nuances of Dravidian politics, and he went ahead in certain statements he made were considered insulting to C.N. Annadurai, who is considered the joint legatee of the Dravidian movement for whether DMK or ADMK. Now, that you can say on the one hand reflects the conflict between Hindutva politics and Dravidian politics, but on the other hand, it also reflects Mr. Annamalai's own lack of nuanced approach in terms of understanding the psyche of the common voter in Tamil Nadu. What are the issues that matter to them? How do they think of the Dravidian movement? How do they think of Tamil Nadu's fight for, not earlier in the Dravidian movement in the 60s, they talked of secessionism. Now it's more of autonomy. As a state within the federal setup, you want to have your rights. And you see yourself as a powerful state in that regard, and your own right to not have Hindi imposed. Language imposition is a big issue even today. It echoes even in the next generation. So whether DMK or ADMK, there is a common value-based sort of set that undergirds your mind.
Right.
And as a voter, you vote based on that. So if the BJP truly wants to expand its space, and it's working hard on that, it has to grapple with this. It might require a leadership change in the future unless Mr. Annamalai is able to step up and change his modus operandi. So, for example, in this case, they have been working not just at the highest level with Annamalai, but I see as a powerful force what they have been doing with the help of the RSS, for example, quietly and at the village level, promoting Hindu festivals, temple worship, idol worship, those things. And thereby, people are projecting, and we hear also from the ground that this time there is a fair chance that they may expand their vote share. Although there is again a lot of hype about whether they will win a large number of seats and so on, I think that is looking like extremely remote possibility. As Mr. Muralidharan said, the fight continues to be essentially between the DMK and the ADMK when you're talking about seat numbers. But for the BJP, they have to play the long game. I believe they're trying, but it's going to be an uphill task because they have to understand the psyche of the voter. What does the Dravidian movement offer? How can the Hindutva politics or the BJP's policies offer an alternative? And how do you slowly expand that space for yourself in the state when you've caused a rupture with the ADMK and now you're going alone by yourself? You have to win the ideological battle. You have to win hearts and minds. That's the only way you'll do it. And you may not do it in this election. You may succeed in at least halfway getting there by 2047 or beyond.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल यहाँ पर एक चीज ये भी जिस तरह से मिस्टर नारायण बता रहे हैं कि लॉन्ग टर्म स्ट्रेटजी जाहिर तौर पर भारतीय जनता पार्टी जो है वो या हम आरएसएस की भी बात करें तो वो इमीडिएट नतीजे निकल जाए उस पर उसका बहुत ज्यादा फोकस नहीं रहता है। अगर आरएसएस 1925 में बना है और तब से लेकर उसने किस तरह से अपनी पॉलिसीज को आगे बढ़ाया, जनसंघ आया, फिर भारतीय जनता पार्टी में वो चीज बदल कर आ गई और अब सत्ता में है और अगले साल 100 साल आरएसएस के पूरे हो जाएंगे। तो जाहिर तौर पर भारतीय जनता पार्टी साउथ में अगर कर्नाटक में उसके फुटप्रिंट्स है और कर्नाटक में सरकार रही है, गोवा में उसकी प्रेजेंस है तो वो तमिलनाडु को बिल्कुल वही स्टेप बाय स्टेप जो है वो टारगेट करने की कोशिश है। इस बार बेशक सीट ना है, लेकिन वही बात है कि इंडिपेंडेंटली अपना वोट शेयर बढ़ा देती है तो अगली बार के लिए विधानसभा के चुनाव होते हैं और उसके बाद के जो लोकसभा चुनाव होते हैं तब के लिए वो कुछ उम्मीद कर सकती है। यही टैक्टिक्स वेस्ट बंगाल में जो है भारतीय जनता पार्टी की तरफ से उठाई गई और जिस तरह से मिस्टर नारायण बता रहे हैं कि हिंदू फेस्टिवल जो है वो छोटे छोटे गाँव में करने, वहां पे लोगों से मिलना, शाखाएं लगा लेनी, अपने एकलव्य स्कूल खोल देने, तो ये सारी टैक्टिक्स है जाहिर तौर पर जो वो तमिलनाडु में भी अपनाएगी। तो बेशक इस बार नहीं, लेकिन लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी का प्लान होगा।
Bilkul, Yogesh, and as far as the optics also go, the BJP has not left any stone unturned. I mean, we saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi also taking a dip, at Rameshwaram, then heading towards the temple and offering prayers. You mentioned rightly about Sengol, which came to the parliament, all these things. And for a BJP or for any other party.
Sorry to interrupt you, but this religious sentiment की जो हम बात करते हैं, सबसे आसान तरीका है। सबसे आसान तरीका है कि लोगों की भावनाओं को कैसे उभारा जाए और अपने साथ कैसे जोड़ने की कोशिश की जाए और उसी लेवल पर या उसी फील्ड पर जो है वो उसी ग्राउंड पर बीजेपी स्टार्ट करती है, खेलती है। दूसरे मुद्दे ठीक है, उसके साथ डेवलपमेंट है और चीजें हैं, हम तमिलियन लैंग्वेज को बढ़ाएंगे, हम वहां के लिए कुछ करेंगे, वो उसके साथ जोड़ लेती है, लेकिन वो प्राइमरी फोकस उसका वो रिलीजियस सेंटिमेंट पर रहता है।
देखिए, see, I mean, people have religion as the opium of masses is not wrong. Also down south also, both gentlemen would agree here that the religious sentiments are also very important. But as far as Mr. Muralidharan mentioned, that the literacy aspect, they are not going to cut into the fact that ये हिंदू है, ये मुस्लिम है, तो इससे चलिए हम अपने वोट शेयर बदल देते हैं. In fact, rather the BJP, Mr. Muralidharan, I'm coming to you, and please correct me if I'm wrong. The BJP will have to change its course if it wants to. We might see 10 years down the line a different BJP in South and a different BJP in North, because they have to tolerate with a dissenting voice where a college student is standing and saying, I support Gaza. You don't have to put a UAP on that. That can happen in Kerala. You need to have an open forum for dissenting voices in Tamil Nadu, where both DMK and AIADMK are ready to listen to the masses and incorporate.
Actually, they tried this. They tried this in what I say in Northeast. Also, they also try it in the South, also in the Goa and all those things. This is the beef issue. If we talk about the beef issue, they have different statements. BJP is having different statements in the North. They have different statement for the Northeast and the
politics.
Goa.
Absolutely. Mr. Muralidharan, thank you so much for patiently waiting. I was meaning to ask you, earlier, one of the political analysts said that because of the division and separation of the BJP and AIADMK, it is the BJP which will gain the ground as far as the vote share is concerned, if not into seats. How do you see it, and what is the public sentiment on ground?
See, let's understand this is an election for the parliament and it's not a local assembly election. So
Right.
whatever gain they're going to have, see, it's about projecting who's your prime minister. And obviously, the India alliance does not have a candidate whom they're projecting as the prime minister. So obviously, Mr. Modi is it's not that it's the ideology which is hated. The Modi per se may not be hated to that extent. So having said that, the BJP might grow a bit because there is anti-incumbency in Tamil Nadu. There is people are a little upset about, DMK on their promises and what they've gone back. And DMK also hurt some Hindu sentiments to an extent. And BJP has used that to, at least to make little headway. Like, for example, the Sanatana Dharma quote by Mr. Stalin's son, Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin. So these are things which has worked in their favor a little bit. But only 2026, we need to wait and see in the assembly election whether this is completely converted into vote share for BJP. Today, they have alliances and things like that, a little bit of anti-incumbency play. Yes, they will grow. There's no doubt about it because they are in the ground and Annamalai is making a lot of noise and that will help them to grow to a certain extent. But how much will that, transfer into votes? We have to wait and see because, the problem with BJP or their strength of BJP is they got all the media on their side, and the media is helping them. Even before the actual opinion polls came out, some of the media, which actually one of the media is like one of the owner of the media is a candidate for NDA. Right. So they have been, projecting that BJP has grown from 3% party to 18% party. So when you have that kind of help, that kind of optics in play, and definitely, that's advantage. And I'm not saying that they're not grown. They would have grown definitely. But will that impact their seat share in this election? I don't think so. I don't think they're really going to make an impact. Yeah.
What is there for AIADMK there then?
Okay, now AIADMK was very firm when they said
more seats. Then what is there for AIADMK?
Now ADMK is in a tricky situation. ADMK could not form the alliance which they really wanted to. They wanted the PMK party and probably the VCK to come together, which is that normally those two parties are in loggerheads. So they could not, achieve either. PMK went and joined the BJP and the VCK decided to stay with DMK. And the DMK is a formidable alliance. You have the DMK, which garners close something at 30% MAGA vote share. Then you have the Congress around 10%. Then you have the other parties like VCK, CPIM, etc., all contributing. And they are at a formidable 43%. Now, that's what is going to be difficult for ADMK to fight or to win against. And because of that, ADMK will remain number 2 and number 3 will be probably taken by BJP because the other party, the Nam Tamil Katchi, who had 10% vote share prior to this election, may not garner so much because they talk about Tamil nationalism and they're more of a regional party contesting for assembly elections and not in the national play. So that's how it looks like. ADMK will be second, but it will be not as many seats as they would love to. They will be diminished to something 10 or less than 10. That's my prediction.
Right, Mr. Muralidharan, thank you. Please stay with us. We'll take a quick question from Narayan Lakshmanji. Narayan Lakshman, Senior Associate Editor there with us, The Hindu. Mr. Lakshman, if we take a bigger picture, be it southern part of India, be it northern part of India, the concept of freebies has often divided the states, the electorate. I still distinctly remember the gifting of television sets,
pressure cookers
down south. And now in the north, you have ration, you have all sorts of cycle, you have laptops, you name it, and they are ready to dole it out. More so in assembly elections. I was covering Rajasthan election with our colleague, and I was surprised to see that they were ready to give you laptops, mobile phones, admission in colleges, and whatnot. For a country as big as India, Mr. Lakshman, how do you see this freebie concept playing out? Certainly not a welfare scheme that the government is launching before the elections. So how do we read into it, and is it really required?
Well, I think that is the critical point that you made just now, which is you have to distinguish between freebies and welfare politics. So every country, if we just step back for a second and look at the global history of development and how other countries developed, they all had some version of a welfare state where they protected certain vulnerable parts of their population. They even protected their own industry. So you can go from freebies to the question of protectionism, where even Japan, Korea, which developed during the late 20th century, they protected through the Zaibatsu and Chaebol. They had some protections in place. Similarly, even in the UK, even in the US, which is a free market economy, you always have welfare goods being given to those who are vulnerable. For example, unemployment safety, social security nets, or for the elderly, you have Medicare and Mediclaim in the US. So these are not new. I think in India, it's reached a slightly runaway proportion because, as you said, it's gone into all kinds of goods which have nothing to do with the welfare of families that are near or above, just above the poverty line. You want to provide welfare goods which relate to either nutrition, health, education, or a broader conception of human rights and dignity and what the state is supposed to give these vulnerable communities. Tamil Nadu, in many ways, started out with good intentions. So it began with, it was the pioneer for the noon meal scheme, the midday meal scheme. Kamaraj himself started it, MGR made it really big, and then the World Bank and the Supreme Court of India made it mandatory for all states. It became explosive. So from that very worthy intervention, which improved nutrition outcomes, healthcare outcomes, and even brought about intercaste harmony in many states because children sat together and ate a hot meal from different societal groups. It then went on to very different kinds of goods because you've seen, as you said, pre-election and before the model code of conduct kicks in, you're allowed to make all kinds of promises, distribute goodies, and win over voters. So on the one hand, it began very strongly towards the welfare of the poorer families. And on the other hand, it became a dangerous, almost democracy-threatening practice in terms of populism. So India is now having that debate at a national level. The South has certainly gone far in terms of this welfare thinking, to the point where in Tamil Nadu itself in 2001, the state itself nearly went bankrupt because of how much expenditure happened. And then there were all kinds of reforms that happened after that. In fact, Jayalalitha and the ADMK helped with the reform part of it. So it has been a tightrope. It has been a backward, sort of a back and forth in terms of fiscal policies. How much should you spend? But at the end of the day, today, the mood, if the BJP nationwide is leading the charge, it looks like the mood is tipping towards competition, the free market, providing certain goods like roads and ports and infrastructure, but not going overboard on the freebies. On the one hand, you say that, but on the other hand, many states are still doing it. I think the BJP itself in many states and at the national level is doing it. So I think it's a debate in progress.
बिल्कुल, और जाहिर तौर पर ये कई बार सवाल भी उठते रहे हैं कि चुनाव आयोग एक तरह से क्यों नहीं इसमें स्टेप इन करता है कि इंटरवीन करता है कि फ्रीबीज क्या होंगी, मामला सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक भी गया हुआ है, और एक वेलफेयर स्कीम्स क्या होंगी, उनके अंदर एक क्लियर कट डिस्टिंक्शन क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा है. तो जाहिर तौर पर ये बड़ा मुद्दा है. मिस्टर मुरलीधरन हमारे साथ हैं. थोड़ा सा आपसे पूरा साउथ का हम देखना चाहेंगे, समझना चाहेंगे आपसे. वी वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड. बीजेपी ने कहा है कि 400 पार. बहुत से पॉलिटिकल एनालिस्ट कह रहे हैं कि ठीक है, ये टैक्टिक्स है, मार्केटिंग में जैसे बोला जाता है कि इतना परसेंटेज आपको ग्रो करना है, लेकिन आपको पता है एक्चुअली कितना आना है, लेकिन एक साइकोलॉजिकली आपको इम्पैक्ट करने के लिए या बताने के लिए लोगों को ये नंबर्स दिए जाते हैं. लेकिन साउथ में क्या आपको दिखता है कि इस बार बीजेपी पिछली बार से थोड़ा सा ज्यादा बेहतर कर सकती है? क्या आपका एनालिसिस बताता है?
होगा, 1-2 सीट्स में फर्क हो सकता है. वो लोग जीत सकते हैं यहाँ पर. बट आप वो 400 जब नेशनली वो तो मुश्किल होगा. आई डोंट थिंक दैट्स गोइंग टू बी इजी बिकॉज आप 2014 से देख लीजिए, वो कम होते जाएगा. सेकंड इज एंटी इनकम्बेंसी अक्रॉस इंडिया. And see, the beauty of democracy is like whenever we have a party which has ruled us for certain number of years, and we feel they're going in the wrong direction, we should stop that, and there should be a change. Like we look at Tamil Nadu, whenever ADMK or DMK, when they come to power, they have 5-year term, and if they make a mistake on the 5th year, the India tenure, automatically DMK comes into power, AIADMK comes to. We have an alternative force coming in, so the democracy is always under check. Nobody goes overboard. Sometime, the ADMK gets 2 terms together, but third term DMK comes back. So this checks and balances are required. We know all these parties. None of them is like holier than thou. Not everybody is like not corrupt, etc. They are corrupt and things like that. So we are going to decide on the better or the lesser evil among the evil. So that's how we've been voting. So I think that's has to happen in the center also. Whatever seats they're going to get from the south, it's going to be minuscule. It's not going to compensate. If they're going to have a huge setback in UP, आप जानते हो 80 सीट्स है, उसमें इस बार उनको थोड़ा मुश्किल होगा. Last time तो सब लोग अलग-अलग थे. You had separately, SP was separate and Congress was separate and BJP was separate. So that was a cakewalk for them. But this time you have Congress and I think SP together. तो उसके वजह उनको तो उधर सीट्स कम हो सकता है. At least 30% सीट्स कम हो सकता है. So वो डेफिसिट कहाँ से आएगा इनको? दूसरा स्टेट्स देखिए. I mean महाराष्ट्र तो totally they have destroyed that state. The political system, because half of them is them already in BJP, and states like Rajasthan, etc. And let's not forget, Maharashtra is the #1 state, and definitely I would put that in par with any other southern state in terms of literacy and in terms of intellectuality. And they're not going to vote the same way how they voted in the last election. And most of the states, there is a lot of issues which BJP have not addressed. Issues of even the northeastern states like Manipur, etc. Unemployment is one. There are many issues which BJP has not really walked the talk. And when there are issues like that, so the numbers which are going to go down, that needs to be compensated, and South is not definitely going to help them in that matter. So we will see. We should see. Let's say it's not a complete majority. The BJP should be dependent on other states or other parties to reach that magic figure. Only then, there would be some change at the governance level and the policy level, and totally the country doesn't go in a different direction,
Right.
Authoritarian direction.